And we're live. It's the fifth weekly AA meeting for the Amateur Analyst Sports Podcast. We got four, including myself tonight. Perry Dube's taking a break. We got Kyle Meredith, Michael Serio, and Trevor Peck. We'll let y'all say hi to everybody real quick.
What's up, guys? Just to preface, before we get to the NFL, I'm as bad picking NFL games as Lou Holtz is at pronouncing his S's.
Serio.
Let's get this started.
Trevor, anything to say?
I hate football. It just makes me sad, and I want to forget that this weekend happened. Go Dogs.
First podcast. That's pretty fair. I can't blame you for that one. All right, so we're going to get right into it tonight. Probably won't have to fly through it like we have been since we're short one man, so we can take our time, really dig into a few things. As usual, we're starting with college football. We're going to go over some of our picks and our reactions. Everyone's going to talk about their best and worst pick of the week. I'll go over a little bit of the record so far after that. So, Kyle, start us off.
Yeah, sure. Had a pretty good week. Not good, not great. 13-10 against the spread, which I was pretty happy about. Vaulted me into the number one spot of the five of us so far against the spread at 50-52 overall. I feel like if I can get to 500, I'll be happy. Straight up, I was 18-7. I picked Cincinnati against Miami, which I think I was the only one to pick them straight up, so I love that pick. And I don't know why I continue to think that Michigan State can cover 3 touchdown spreads. I've done it 3 weeks in a row. They haven't covered 3 weeks in a row, so I didn't like that pick very much.
All right, Serio.
Yeah, I agree. It was a pretty crazy week. I think the only thing that I did exceptionally well on was picking Alabama to win. Sorry, guys. I was the only person with Kyle to pick Bama, and we both picked them straight up. I think that's just more a compliment to Saban. I think he's a good coach. I think the Dogs are still the team to beat in the SEC. Yeah, I do mean that. The other thing I did well was UF. Even though everybody chose them, I was happy because I chose them straight up, and I felt like that was a great pick by me.
Serio, I was worried that you weren't going to get on the podcast in time, and I was going to have to be the only one in this Georgia wine fest, and they were there the whole time. So I'm glad you made it in time.
I did. I want to rub that in a little bit.
All right, Trevor, what about your picks?
I will say, in fairness, throughout the week, there were several places where I said if I was being a rational, objective fan, it would have been very tough to predict that the Dogs would win. I know I'm at least on the record in the podcast saying that I think Bama is the best team in the SEC. But that's obviously disappointing. So for me personally, that was one of the worst picks. I mean, picking them to win and then they go and they get essentially embarrassed. It's never good. I did like the pick of Archie straight up and then UNC, although it looks like we had a few of those. And then, yeah, I actually thought it was really interesting. Looks like 3 of 5 of us picked Florida straight up, which I don't know, how many groups would have actually said that. Obviously, we weren't as high on Ole Miss as everyone else was. But overall, not a great week. Most disappointing because the Dogs went down.
Yeah, everyone was a little sad in Athens on Saturday. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm still sad. I'm not going to say I'm sad. I'm still sad. That was a beatdown. I feel like if anyone that watched the game, as soon as the block punt happened, the Georgia team just didn't have it mentally anymore. They weren't ready for adversity. They didn't know how to handle it when things went wrong. And that's kind of been a problem for them a lot of times in big games is when things don't go well early, they can't seem to find that next level to step up to. So that was pretty disappointing to watch. Yeah, on the Florida thing, nobody picked Ole Miss to cover the spread. And like you said, 3-5 for UF to win. This is the second year in a row a Mississippi team has been put into the top 5 because of beating Bama, right? Or no, Miss State had a few good wins, but it's all about those preseason rankings, and you beat a preseason highly ranked team who's ranked on nothing but perception, and the perception is that you're a great team. So we'll see how this kind of works throughout the week. I would love it if Missouri could beat UF this coming week, and then they'll vault Missouri into the top 20 because, they beat a top 11 Florida team, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, records overall, I'm pretty sad. I've dropped from being the best college ATS and straight up in 2 weeks to being just about the worst in both. Luckily, Sirio is awful against the spread in college, so I'm still doing better than him.
Well, you can't be. Dube had a lot of bad picks this week, didn't he? He pretty much struck out. So you can't be that.
Well, no, Dube didn't get any right this week. He missed every single one. He went 0-23 straight up, and he went 0-23 against the spread. But that's, what are you going to do? He just had a rough week. Can't help him there. So, yeah, nobody's leading straight up because of that, because Dube doesn't exist. Kyle claimed he's leading the ATS, which is correct. I'll be coming back to my crown soon when I get a little more rational and stop trying to pick silly upsets that will never happen. All right, we're going to move into the next topic, which is the top 11. This is not going to be quite a panel discussion. I'm just going to give a little bit of a rant. So ESPN, I'm sure most people that follow sports closely know, tweeted the AP top 11 teams on Sunday morning, which is interesting because they tweet the top 10 teams every single week for who knows how long. But since Florida, an SEC team, is sitting in that 11 spot for beating a way over-ranked Ole Miss team, they now have them at 11, and SportsCenter decided that was, they really needed to make sure that people knew that an SEC team was sitting there at number 11. No way they do that last week with Florida State at number 11, and now at Florida State at 12, they're like, well, what's the cutoff? Oh, it's definitely 11. Got to get that fourth SEC team in there. I understand why there's a bias, and I can't even say it's wrong. That's where the money is for ESPN. They're a business. They're trying to make money. But if anyone's really still trying to claim they don't have that SEC preference at ESPN, you don't have many arguments left. It's absolute joke. It's very clear. There's just no way to argue the other way anymore. If anyone else wants to chime in, I'll let them, but that's my rant of the day.
It was so funny. So I saw a tweet after the top 11. It said, I'm surprised that instead of Michigan State, they didn't put MSU to put up a facade that Mississippi State was in the top 11 too. Like, oh,
I did see that.
Act like we've got another SEC team. And I was like, sometimes you hear obviously this nonsensical things from uninformed people, but I was like, holy shit, they could actually do that, and it wouldn't be that surprising to me. They could throw MSU on there, and people would be like, Mississippi State, oh wow.
Even after losing, right?
That wouldn't matter.
All right, we're going to move into our usual topics. We're going to go into everyone's most impressive team of the week, as usual, starting off with Kyle.
Well, I liked Cincinnati's first half a lot. I know Miami didn't have their two starting defensive backs. Their safeties because of targeting rules, but I thought that was a good win, especially with a backup quarterback in there. He tore Miami up, and that's a good win on Thursday night. I'm not sure if they're going to compete in the American, but I thought Cincinnati was very impressive on Thursday night.
Sirio, what you got?
For me, the most impressive team was UF, and that's more speaking to the entire season. I think that they've just defied expectations across the board. Their offense has been pretty good. Their defense has been really good. For them to take down the Ole Miss team, I mean, it was in the swamp, and I think that played into it. But they've been a pretty impressive team, and I think that they're going to be somewhat of a force moving forward, especially for Florida State down the end of the season. They definitely have a chance to play spoiler against some of these SEC teams and even the Noles. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Tough schedule, really tough schedule.
Yeah,
and
most people expected them to go 1-5, including the Ole Miss game. So maybe they'll do better than that now, but they really got to do well in their next 5 games coming.
Yeah,
up.
I don't think that they'll be a playoff team, and I don't think they'll even be in the conversation. But just speaking to how they've done, up to this point, and it'll be interesting to see them play now that they're getting into the SEC schedule. Just looking at how they've gotten to this point, it's been pretty impressive to see what they've been able to do. I think that they could play spoiler to a couple of these teams.
Absolutely, I agree.
Trevor, who's your most impressive?
Florida's defense is really good, and I think something that's easy for people to forget is there was always a lot of talent there. It just didn't necessarily show up on the field. But for me, I don't know, just because I watched the game and it was so disappointing for me, but Bama looked really good. Georgia, I don't think, is a great team. They're probably not a top 10 team, but they're definitely a top 25 team, and Bama embarrassed them. I mean, they completely exposed our passing game. Their defense looked good throughout. Realistically, they made Chubb a non-factor, and I don't think that's, has anything to do with Chubb not being as good as advertised. I think he definitely is. If it wasn't for that late 80-plus yard run, he probably doesn't tie Herschel's or beat Herschel's record. So I'm probably going Bama as my most impressive.
So I'm curious about your UF when you say season long, because you look at UF season, they were gifted a Tennessee win. They barely pulled out against ECU. I mean, other than this Miss State team, they've seemed like one of the luckiest teams I've ever seen before. So when you say season long impressive, it's kind of I'm a little skeptical on that comment.
That's fair. But did you expect them to be 5-0?
No, well, definitely not.
At
Definitely not 5-0.
At a certain point, I agree. Maybe I exaggerated a little bit. I overstepped. But good teams find ways to win.
Yep.
It's easy for them to drop 2 of those games. They didn't. They're 5-0. They're undefeated. That in itself is, not the prettiest, but they're getting it done. That's at the end of the day, it's wins or losses.
So I'm going to bring up a little bit of one for me here, and Michigan has had 2 straight shutout games, and both games their offense has been impressive. I mean, I don't think they're going to be a contender this year, but Harbaugh is showing that just from him being a coach, he can really do a lot with the program because he does not have fantastic talent at that program right now. So if you get 2 straight shutouts and you're scoring 25 plus in both those games, I mean that's just darn impressive. It's cool to see that team in the spotlight. I like national powers being national powers. It'd be interesting to see them back in the spotlight in a few years.
They've given up 6 points since the 3rd of September.
It's going to be really interesting watching them against Northwestern because I still have no gauge on how good Northwestern really is. Obviously, every time I want to say they're not as good as people are saying, they go out and have another really good game. That's going to be a really interesting game. And I know later we're going to talk about teams that have a chance to be undefeated, and I think that's one of those games you look at where that's going to help decide. If Northwestern is able to get over that test, then they're looking pretty good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Northwestern.
Did they get game day for that? Is that the game day? Michigan,
no, I think isn't it Utah?
It's Utah and Cal.
Oh, Jesus. No, that should have been Michigan Northwestern.
Well, I mean, Goff might be the best quarterback in college right now. Although I know we've talked about it, it's not a quarterback's year.
Yeah, I know he's been talked about as NFL prospect-wise as the number 1 guy so far. So, yeah, I can see why they'd want to hit that. And it'd be interesting to see what Cal's really made of. I haven't been able to watch many of their games yet. So
Utah's another team. I just can't figure it out.
They struggled against Washington State. I saw highlights. I mean, they had a couple big plays. Defense made a couple plays, but Goff is good. There's no doubt.
I don't think there's a single team left in the country that hasn't struggled against a bad opponent. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and I'm not thinking of somebody, but I don't think there's a single one.
And that's why I think that nobody's going to be undefeated at the end of the season. There's not that one team like we had last year or like we had 2 years with FSU where they were just running the table. It's going to be tough for a team to go undefeated. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's parity in recruiting, man. Teams are learning how to get kids in. There's more national talent evaluation going on at small programs, and it's evening out college football. It's been happening a little for 2 years, and I think this year is one of the biggest examples of that we've seen with all these teams that you don't think should be able to compete or playing with these top teams. So
definitely.
I think parity is huge, but I also think player development at those smaller schools has been huge. Guys are getting stuff out of 2 and 3 stars that never would have happened 5 or 6 years ago. It's huge, and that's why Northwestern is still playing, and that's why Duke is 4-1 and all that kind of stuff. The player development and all that stuff is leaps and bounds as far as mid majors and then lower tier Power 5 teams.
I think part of that development too is the way social media works and the way technology is. Kids that maybe no teams could have found out about before are getting their tape to coaches. People, they put a highlight on Twitter and it goes viral and coaches see that, and coaches at smaller schools are like, there's a kid that's this fast and this strong, maybe he's not the most skilled guy, but bring him in. I see him like this and we can teach him, and that's really aiding. And it's also great for the kids that never would have gotten noticed 10 years ago by any school, and they're getting scholarships now. So it's really cool to see that kind of stuff going on.
I think you're also seeing the benefit of years of coaching clinics at lower levels, etc., I think high school coaches are probably getting a little better at player development. And I think in particular for football, the strength and conditioning at the high school level is a lot better than it probably was 10, 15 years ago. And so I think there are just better athletes throughout the country. Yeah, it's interesting though. It's because there's not a great team. I know, Eric, you said this from day one, but when you look at the college landscape right now, there's not a great team that looks so much better than everyone else.
There wasn't last year either. There wasn't
right?
Last
No,
year.
exactly.
Sirio, you have.
Is Miller Lite paying for the advertising time?
Yeah, this next segment's brought to you by Miller Lite.
No, wait for the segment after that because it's the best segment on the show. We're going to move along into reverse of what we just talked about and go with our most disappointing team of the week. Kyle?
Okay, this is a homer pick, but UCF, if they didn't win this week, there was a lot of rumors that they were probably going to go 0-12. Sure enough, they walked out against Tulane and just absolutely shit the bed, played no defense. Their offense was struggling, and I'll talk a little bit more about them in my reverse Heisman too. UCF looked bad. There's a very good chance they go 0-12, which is very sad.
So have you seen the bar there that has the deal that until they win a game, during the game, beer is free?
All right, now I have this question.
So
I have this question. Can I interrupt? Sorry, Kyle. Sorry.
Go ahead, Terry.
So let's say UCF goes the entire season defeated. Do they have to support the off season as well until 2016? I mean,
it's only during games.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so they only got 12 kegs for the game on Saturday, and they ran out. So then they gave away 3 wells.
Oh no.
Oh God.
How is that a good business plan? How are you not just hemorrhaging money?
I mean, I'm sure you are. I mean, I guess their hope is, they'll stick around after the game and drink the stuff that costs money. But if I'm a college student, that's not what I'm doing.
Does the bar serve food?
There's a really awesome burrito place right across the street. So
yeah, they're gonna lose so much money off that deal. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. All right, Sirio, take us right along with most disappointing team.
So I'd spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I went back and forth in the Notre Dame Clemson game, and I want to pick one team, but then every time I think about it, then the other team looks more unimpressive. Notre Dame came back and made that a game. They had their chances, but that first half they just looked god awful. So I really wanted to say that they were most disappointing, just because the chances that they had in Death Valley don't happen often, and they couldn't take advantage of them. But then for Clemson to not, just end the game and pull away against a underperforming Notre Dame offense for the most part, especially with non-starters. That was also really unimpressive for me, that Notre Dame was able to battle back the away team. That was, pretty, I think, telling of how Clemson's going to be moving forward against quality offenses.
I think it's tough to say you're disappointed in Clemson with how many injuries they've had. At this point, any win to me can't be disappointing for them. I mean, I think there's only one offensive lineman position that the starter hasn't left from right before the season through the season. I mean, they've just been their top wide receiver got hurt. They've had several injuries on defense. I mean, they've been devastated with injury, and not just injuries, guys just leaving school. I mean, one guy had a family issue. One guy went to the supplemental draft. At this point, winning for them is just the expectations are not what they would have been if they'd had that full squad. So
I agree.
Any win on the national stage, I mean, especially when last time they had a game that big in Death Valley, FSU absolutely embarrassed them. I think mentally for them winning that game was a lot tougher than it seems.
They're still a top 10 team, though. I mean, injuries happen, but at that, if you're a top 10 team, you should have depth. It's not like one injury is going to completely ravish your 53-man or whatever roster. No, I mean, that's not entirely true.
I mean, if Dalvin Cook gets hurt and can't play the rest of the season, Florida State's going to lose 4 games.
True, yeah.
I mean,
Deshaun Watson, for them.
It's tough to, when you got 5 or 6 injuries, that's just a little tough. But we'll move along a little bit. Trevor, who is your most disappointing team?
Well, I do want to just say, following up on that real quick, the other thing about that win for Clemson is they got Georgia Tech, and that ties in Boston College, Miami, North Carolina State before they finally run to FSU. Those are a few really manageable games. So, this gives them a chance to kind of step back. They have manageable games. They won the game that they needed to. And if they get through the next few weeks, then they got a tough game in FSU. But, I mean, that's a manageable schedule. This was a huge game for them. That's a good win.
I'm interested if they can score against that Boston College front seven with their depleted offensive line, though. That should
True.
be.
That's a good point. I mean, any of those games. Look, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the parity. I still think Miami, could go out and beat them. Honestly, they have talent. I know everybody hates Al Golden right now, but they got talent. So you could see that dropping. I'm just saying that in terms of winning the game that you need to win, they won the game that they really needed to win, and now their schedule is fairly manageable. And then it ties in my most disappointing team in a week that UGA loses by 28. I'm going with the boys from Georgia Tech, obviously. Honestly, though, it was also a home game, and they actually had the lead late, and they gave it up to North Carolina, who's looked very inconsistent throughout the season. That one trick play that Marquise Williams scored on was pretty cool. But for me, Georgia Tech, they started out, I thought they were a legit playoff contender, completely fallen apart. But there were some other good picks there, too. I mean, you could have gone with Tennessee again. That seems to be my favorite thing, saying Tennessee's the most disappointing. And just because I keep insisting on picking Texas for God knows what reason, I could also go with them with the 43-point loss to TCU and guys apparently tweeting at halftime that they should have gone to a different school. So
yeah, they're Stud's freshman linebacker, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I forget
Chris
exactly.
Boyd, I think is his name. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's bad. Well, and what really sucks about that is I do think Texas is moving in the right direction. I think if Strong stays there, he's changing the culture. It's an uphill battle. I think they'll be all right eventually. But if you have guys tweeting that shit at halftime, it's tough to trust the coach.
Yeah.
So a lot of good picks for most disappointing. Obviously, UGA could have been up there too.
Yeah, I'm shocked at no UGA picks. With if they just got beat physically by a much better team, that's one thing. But if you give up mentally like they did and just don't show the heart out there that most of the team just wasn't showing after that block punt, that's what's disappointing to me is when you see teams. When I feel like a team gives up, that's when I'm disappointed. So, for me, that's easily Georgia on this week.
It's fair.
All right, so time for we're going to let Miller Lite sponsor this next little topic. Sarah, there you go. Sarah, say something so it goes to your screen.
Miller Lite, ice cold refreshment.
All right, it is my favorite conversation in any sports. It is the reverse Heisman conversation. Kyle, start us off.
Yeah, well, since we kind of decided we're going to go with the season theme, I'm sticking with Justin Thomas. When you're ranked and you have such a credible offseason, if you are Georgia Tech, you can't go lose 3 straight. You can't go lose to North Carolina at home. You got to be a better leader than that. I know their defense didn't play well in the end. Marquise Williams had a nice trick play, but as far as leading a team that's flat out struggling, Justin Thomas is my reverse Heisman.
All right, Sirio.
I don't know if I'm going to steal you or Trevor's pick on this one. Maybe not, maybe. But I'm going to go with Grayson Lambert.
Yeah, you stole mine.
Yeah. So actually what I'll do is I'll just hand it over to you because I really want to hear what you have to say.
It's tough with Lambert because we all knew coming into the season that he wasn't God's gift. But the problem was he set us up for disappointment because he had those 2 games where he did exactly what you need him to do. He hit the high efficiency passes, and then this week he goes 10 for 24, 86 yards, and I think he threw that 1 interception. Although, Palmer, it was great. When we were watching the game, he lost it most, not at anything Lambert did, but when they took out Lambert to put in Ramsey, he was losing it.
I don't care if Lambert's not playing bad. You don't do that. And what happens? What happens when Ramsey comes in?
Yeah, he threw a pick.
Throws it to a safety that's standing right in this. Like, he didn't have to move. He stood there, took 1 step forward, and took an interception of the house, which, like, if you have a chance, you have to, like, come back with momentum at that moment to start the half. Right. And, I mean, that was a horrible coaching decision. I don't care if Lambert's having a bad game. You got to keep him in there. You can't.
In fairness, The other thing, in fairness, I thought he absolutely missed a few guys. I think that the first play of the game actually might have been that play action, and I thought he had a guy, and it looked like he went through him a little bit. There were a few situations like that, but a lot of the time he was just sitting there, and his receivers weren't getting open. So you got to give some credit to Alabama. But, I mean, 10 for 24, you can't get around those numbers. That's not good. It was at home. It was probably the biggest game of the season. I don't see how it wouldn't be unless we get to the SEC championship. And that was hugely disappointing. We really needed him to show up any day.
Hey, Kyle, when was the last time you and I had a conversation about how bad our quarterback was?
Well,
an hour ago or something like that?
No.
No, unfortunately, though, I had to have a conversation when I was watching the Florida State game at Dube's bar. Trevor doesn't know this guy, but Michael Price just hates Everett Golson more than Palmer does.
I don't hate Everett Golson. Don't get that mixed up. I don't think he was put into a situation where he could possibly succeed.
Fair enough. But Mike Price is just I don't have words for the lack of knowledge he has. He just hates Everett Golson. So having to talk about how terrible he was.
That's the best kind of hate.
Down the worst.
Unbacked hate. You have nothing to back it up.
I'm still sticking with the first Heisman is Dobbs from Tennessee. He is at 57% completion for the season. He's only averaging 6.2 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's just, and he's never come through when they needed him. They've had so many late game situations that they could win a game, and he can't do it. He can't pull them through. I think that's rough. And their savior quarterback, Jared Garantano, out of high school, just got a season-ending injury Friday. So, that's going to be interesting to see if he's able to recover because that was supposed to be how they were going to be good the next few years with the new quarterback in. So, on another bit of recruiting news I just got that affects some Florida State fans as well as possibly LSU fans, Keon Joyner, the big bad linebacking recruit that is one of the top guys in the country, it's reported that he's no longer on his high school football team. Don't know the details. Don't know if he got kicked off. Be interesting to follow that and see what happened to that. FSU really needs linebacker recruits, and it looks like we're in really good position for this kid. So that's a rough little blow right there.
Is he from New Orleans?
I don't remember. I think he's from Carolina. I think he's a North Carolina kid.
We have a chance.
I think he's a North Carolina kid. All right, so we're going to move right into the end of the college, or not quite the end of the college discussion. We're going to preview next week real quick, though, talk about anything y'all looking forward to, and then we're going to answer some viewer questions we got throughout the day.
Yeah, just like you guys were excited to have a game in your college town last week, I'm really excited about FSU Miami. I know it's a little bit dumbed down because Miami lost on Thursday, but FSU Miami is always fun, 8 o'clock kick. It'll be really interesting to see. I know there's a bunch of nervous Seminoles up until kickoff at 8 o'clock because Dalvin's day-to-day. I don't like our chances if Dalvin doesn't play. Jonathan Vickers and Jacques Patrick are two, obviously, 4- and 5-star recruits, but that's all they are at this point is recruits. They don't have any experience at all. And a night game, rivalry game, that's a little scary. But I'm very excited for that game. I'm excited to get to Tallahassee on Friday.
So did Patrick get a single carry?
I'm not sure if he had any carries, but he was targeted out of the backfield one time when Vickers limped off the field. Other than that, he wasn't in the game very much.
That's what scares me the most is that Jimbo doesn't feel comfortable putting him on the field.
Yeah, I know. There's obviously a reason. I kind of thought that 3rd down and 1, 3rd down and 2, or goal line stuff, there would be no question that Patrick would be in the backfield, and that has not been the case. I haven't read much that he isn't performing. As far as I was concerned, he was doing fine. So I don't really know. But
the knock on him from the coaches is that he wasn't running tough. He doesn't know how to run tough. He's strong, he's big, and if he gets his momentum going, he can run people over. But he doesn't know how to run with strength and power yet.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I watched him in high school in his senior year, and obviously everybody is preparing. They're putting 9 in the box to try to stop him, and he's still trying to run around people, which you can't do. And obviously,
there it is.
You can't run around people. It's not going to happen. They're gonna put 3 guys and just force you to the sideline. You got to run up the field, and if that's why he's not in on 3rd and 2, because he's going to try to get around people, then he's going to have a long career of sitting on the sideline.
Yep. Serial, what you looking forward to?
Well, Kyle kind of stole my thunder, but it's okay because I enjoy it. This is Miami Hate Week, so the only thing I'm looking forward to is FSU Miami. It's not often that you get a rivalry like this. I went down to the Miami game last year, and even though we whooped their ass, no, we didn't, but I want to think that anyways. It was fantastic. Some dad tried to fight my friend. Oh, and I have a call-in. The one live viewer is
Jesus, is he really calling in right now? We'll let you answer that. We'll go to Trevor for a second. Are we going live? Hey, Graham, what's up?
Hey guys, long time listener, first time caller. I have a question with all the Georgia conversation. Do you guys think it's time for Rick to move on? I know he's had some struggles against ranked teams, but it seems like all he can do is put together 10-win seasons and can't really put it all together. What's your take on that?
So if you guys didn't hear that,
we got
asking about Rips, yeah.
Trevor, I'm gonna start just because I got kind of an opinion not many people do usually. I think it's a conversation you have to have. It's what do you want for your football program? Do you want a national championship? Rick's not the guy. Do you want to run an awesome program with a guy who brings in great kids, teaches them well, is a great role model to them, puts them into the NFL? Then you keep Rick. I think I think that's the conversation you have to have. He doesn't have that fire and that, honestly, that little bit of jerk assholeness in him that guys like Saban and Jimbo have that make them great coaches. And I think he's a fantastic teacher, but when you see guys mentally quit like you see from Georgia too often, I think that shows that he doesn't have that fire that you need from a national championship head coach.
So do you think you can only have one or the other?
No, but I think he's all nice guy.
Okay.
I think he's all nice guy. I think Jimbo's a good mix, and I think Saban's the full asshole. But Rick's he's all nice guy. He's all dad, teacher, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if guys like Wooden can do it anymore. And even, he had some slimy dudes around the program when he was winning at UCLA all the time. So he was a great guy, but he still had that mix in the program. I don't know. I'm pretty opinionated on this because I think the fact that people do just concede that, oh, yeah, he's going to get you 10 wins a year, that's pretty impressive. And the fact that he's had the success that he's had at Athens, I just don't know that you're guaranteed to upgrade from that. So, yeah, obviously if you could get a Saban to Athens, but that's not going to happen because he's in Tuscaloosa and he's happy. Or maybe not. Maybe he's going to the NFL if you believe some of the rumors. I think that Rick's, that sort of success you don't just turn your back on. I do think that he needed to bring in a guy like Pruitt who brings, I think, some of that jerk factor. Like when we gave up a touchdown to Southern, he got pissed and he starts yelling at us.
Don't forget the sexual deviance.
Yeah, the sexual well, you need some of that. You need some of that on your team. I think he needed somebody like Pruitt. I think that was a great hire. I don't think this is the year to give up on Rick because I just don't think Georgia was that great. We didn't really have a quarterback. We brought in Lambert. He had those 2 really good games, but let's not forget he wasn't even going to start at Virginia. For me, I would give Rick more chances. If after Easton comes through, he still proves he can't win the big one, then yeah, maybe you got to have that discussion. But this isn't the year for me that I would do that. But I know that longer time Georgia fans, they feel differently, and I respect that opinion too.
I think you brought up a very important point there of who would you replace him with.
Right.
Who's going to do better? I don't know that there's anyone out there right now you're going to get.
I want to jump in on this conversation. It kind of reminds me of the Bobby Bowden situation that FSU had where, Rick is going to be that guy, kind of like Spurrier, where he's going to bring in talent. He's going to have a couple guys that are big names, go to the NFL, have great careers. But, the college landscape is just so evolving. You see Baylor, TCU, jumping up. Now it's kind of like, all these different programs are coming through. And with Bobby, who are you going to replace him with? Once we found Jimbo, then it was, time where we let Bobby go. But I could see Georgia being in the same rut as FSU where 10 wins, you win the ACC, you go to the bowl, maybe you win it, maybe you don't. One of those situations where if you find the right coach, you could definitely regain power. But it's just, college football is changing so much. This might be, his time to go.
I do. One
I'll
last
throw a
thing.
name out, Trevor. I want to hear your opinion on this name. Kirby Smart.
Ooh.
Honestly, I have no opinion off the top of my head. What do you think? What's your opinion?
Do you know who Kirby Smart is, Trevor? Is that the problem?
Yeah, no. I mean, he's the DC at Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been kind of the guy people have looked at recently for which big school is going to offer him the head coach job that pulls him away from Bama. I mean, he's had a great defense. He's learned under
If you're going to
Saban
hire
for
a
so
defensive
long.
coordinator, why wouldn't you just move up Pruitt? I don't understand.
Oof.
Unless you don't trust him, if
Yeah,
he's
I
completely
I don't
unemployed.
know. Pruitt was with FSU when they won, so he obviously will know a little bit about Jimbo's program. I mean, that really wouldn't be a bad idea, to be honest. It'd make your defense
He was
really
also
good.
he was the DB coach at Bama, so it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
He's not
I don't
ready.
understand
He's
why
not
you
ready.
would go to another SEC school and get the DC when you have Pruitt at Georgia.
That's a good point. Pruitt's not ready. Pruitt's not ready right now. He needs.
Which is
more
why,
time.
even more so, don't make the move on Ricks yet. And
Yeah.
if you're really unhappy, because I don't see Pruitt staying more than a couple more years, honestly.
Well, I think Pruitt went to Georgia over probably a lot of other offers because he saw maybe Rick won't be there that much longer, and this is my path to a great head coaching job.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just not a good enough X and O guy to tell you, in terms of that, who's a really good coaching prospect. I couldn't break down the sport enough.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to some more viewer questions. One we got earlier in the day. What team do we think has the best chance to go undefeated? Kyle, start us off.
Honestly, I think the sleeper one is Utah. I think Utah's looked really good in the Pac-12. I think everybody kind of beats up on each other. This will be a good gauge. I think they beat Cal this week, honestly, but they've looked really good. They beat up on a Michigan team that's absolutely they're killing people. Oregon, they absolutely put it on them with a fake punt when they're up 3 or 4 scores. I think Ohio State is the easy pick, but I do think they go down. Ohio State's kind of the bandwagon pick. I don't think they win all their games, even though early in the year I predicted that they would kind of make it all the way through and win. I've kind of changed my perception on that, but hot take. I think Utah is a scary team to finish with 0 losses.
Mario, who you got?
Well, I said before that I don't think anybody's going to be undefeated. If I had to pick, I would say TCU. I mean, I know that their defense has been horrendous, but they could only get better. I mean, they've literally been one of the worst defenses, I feel like. Their offense still scores points. Score more points than the opponent and you win the game. It's that simple. I think TCU has the best chance, I guess.
That's a tough schedule to get through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. But, if you have a team score 60 points but you score 85, it doesn't matter how good they are if you're just tearing up defenses. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to go undefeated, so I'm just doing this for the sake of your question.
All right, Trevor, what you got?
I'm not sure anyone does it either, but I am really interested. I think Clemson's got a chance, and I actually think FSU has a chance, depending on how much you believe Florida. Because I think basically the winner of that game is going to have a pretty good chance. Neither of their schedules look super intimidating outside of FSU finishing up at Florida, isn't it?
We got Clemson at Clemson.
Yeah, so I mean, I would imagine Clemson wins that, and then I like their shot. But I don't know. I think Toledo. I don't know how good Bowling Green is, so maybe who knows? I'm not sure. I didn't recognize a lot of the schools on their schedule.
FSU also has Chattanooga. Don't forget about that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's Clemson because they get their tough games at home. I think that's big. I think they play Notre Dame at FSU and Georgia Tech all at home this year, and I think that, even though I don't think they're a great team this year, I just think schedule-wise they have the best chance to do it. When you talk about opportunity to do something, I think they probably do, getting all those games at home. Though I still have FSU picked in that game to win.
I agree with you, but I will say that this week is absolutely a possible letdown game against Georgia Tech.
Very much.
Without a doubt. 3:30 game. They were hyped up for an 8 o'clock game. It was pouring down rain. People stood everywhere for 12 hours. This is a definite, game where they could go down if Georgia Tech can figure. I don't think they will, but I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people believe.
I just think Georgia Tech's really falling apart right now.
Yeah, you're right.
Otherwise, yeah, because that schedule is a lot tougher if Tech is as good as we thought they were maybe 2 weeks ago. Whereas right now, I just think the wheels are kind of coming off the bus.
I'm just glad I didn't buy a Florida State Georgia Tech ticket for $150 because those things are going to go way down.
Yeah, my family bought 4, so that's going to be great. I'll still be there. All right, any more college conversation, y'all?
I don't think so. I may have to dip out here in a little bit, though, to go do schoolwork, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, you're in law school. We get it.
Trevor's a more responsible law student than I am, but
I would just say I'm not as good at planning, and I take on responsibilities that I regret later.
All right, well, let us know. Keep us updated. We're gonna move into the NFL. Nothing too crazy happening this week in the NFL. Probably be a decently quick conversation. We'll go over picks just like we did for college to start it off. Kyle?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, I am awful at the NFL. I really don't do nearly as much research as I should. 4-10 against the spread, which as good as I was in college, it's equally as awful on the other end for NFL. 8-7 straight up, which isn't any good. And then I'm looking forward to talking about our worst and best performances. I'll send it to Sirio, though.
All right. So I did okay, and by okay, I mean I went 6-8, so I was under 500. But yeah, compared to Kyle, that was okay.
True.
Let's see. I was the only person to choose Miami, which was wrong, so go me. But I was the only person to choose New Orleans to win. Everyone else chose Dallas, so that balances out. I'm happy to see everybody.
Technically, 3 people chose New Orleans to win. They just didn't choose them to cover the spread.
I don't think you have that right.
Only myself and Dube predicted Dallas straight up. The other 2, they just had Dallas covering the spread.
And it was 6. New Orleans won by 6.
Yeah.
And they had Dallas plus 4.5.
You said to win the game. I was just clarifying.
Okay. And I'm also really happy to see everybody chose Green Bay to win because Green Bay is the best team. Oh, I've been holding on to this all week. I was even going to make a soundbite for it because I was so mad. Last week, Palmer said that Arizona is probably the best team in the NFL, and I had to pause the podcast, scream, and resume it because Arizona is not the best team in the NFL. They're not even the best
probably
team.
New England.
Green Bay is the best team, hands down. Go Packers.
All right, Trevor, what you got?
So, I mean, as a Charger fan, the most disappointing was I took Oakland to win that game, and I took the Browns to upset Chargers, which is not only heretical, but also just entirely wrong, as it would turn out. So that wasn't good. Not the best week. I will say in my defense, I don't know how the hell the Chargers won that game. I think our offensive lineman is like an 180-pound dude we found in the stands, and we just invited on down. No, seriously, though, Fluker actually played hurt, and I mean, that guy's a stud. He deserves all the credit in the world. But Felipe didn't have a lot of time, and he still put up massive numbers. That was impressive.
I do have to say it's amusing that you are the San Diego fan, and everybody else picked them to win the game, and you picked them to lose the game. You're the only one that picked them.
That's because I'm a San Diego fan. I know better.
I'm glad I hit on my St. Louis Rams pick to win straight up because the Rams only know how to play in division games. Otherwise, they're the worst team in the NFL. But when they play in division games, they beat up on the Seahawks and Cardinals because that's just apparently how life works now. The records, Trevor still leading the spread picks, despite claiming to not be the NFL guy, still leading the spread picks.
It doesn't speak highly for the podcast.
Hey, I mean, we're all hovering in the 400s. You're actually at batting 522, which is pretty crazy in NFL spread picks, to be honest with you. Sirio is just kind of starting to leave us behind in the straight-up picks. He's sitting at 43-20, betting 683 on that. He is almost a full a full percent, a full hundred or tenth over me for the lead, which is he's leaving us behind on that one. So I'll give him credit where it's due there.
Thank you. That means a lot. The Packers.
Yeah, second to last in the spread picks, man. So it balances out. All right, so
that also is true.
we're gonna move to the worst and best individual performances of Week 2 in the NFL. I'm gonna step away, so y'all take some time on this one.
Okay, I'll start, and I will go straight FSU right here with worst performance being good old number 3 Jameis Winston of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know he hasn't had a lot of help, but you cannot throw 4 INTs, one being a pick six, and lose a fumble on the first snap of the game. That is just downright atrocious. And then on the flip side, best performance once again, Devontae Freeman, 142 all-purpose yards, 3 scores. I think he's the first person to score 3 TDs in back-to-back games since like 2008, and those were Vinny and Tomlinson. So that's pretty good company. He continues his hot start, and I know Graham's going to love to hear Falcons and rise up. So.
All right, I'll go next. My most disappointing would probably be Julio Jones. I just am mostly saying that because Graham's listening, and Julio Jones had an abysmal week. He normally averages like 30 points, which makes him a fantasy god. So, Graham, what the hell's going on? Best pick, big surprise, Aaron Rodgers. He is by far the best player in the league. Go Pack.
I'm going to assume you're talking about Aaron Rodgers because all I heard is Syrio talking about who he thinks the best player in the league is.
I'll drink to that.
Just so I can get caught up, Kyle, who'd you go with?
My worst was good old number 3 Jameis Winston, and my best was once again Devontae Freeman with 142 all-purpose and 3 scores.
Syrio, who'd you have?
Well, I said Julio Jones as a joke, but now I remember who I really wanted. I wanted Colin Kaepernick. He got booed in his own stadium by their fans. This is just 2 years removed when he replaced Alex Smith and they won the Super Bowl, beating the Packers in the NFC Championship. Never forget. But, yeah, he looks absolutely terrible. He can't do anything right. Getting booed in your own stadium is pretty bad. And then I chose the best, Aaron Rodgers. I'll drink to that.
Trevor, who you got?
Yeah, but Kaepernick ain't Russell Wilson, bro. So, come on. I mean, this isn't really fair because he only got 8 carries, but I'll go DeMarco Murray just because of how hugely disappointing the season's been. I think it was 8 carries for 36 yards, which actually isn't a terrible average, but still hugely disappointing on the season. For best, I'm going to go with Felipe, the brochacho in San Diego. 358 yards, 3 TDs, no interceptions, and like I said, his offensive line honestly is Swiss cheese right now. He did not have a lot of time in that pocket, and he was still making plays happen. A lot of respect for Rivers.
So, Trevor, I thought you might do it, but I'm glad you didn't, so I can. The young man Todd Gurley for St. Louis, 108 rushing yards in the fourth quarter. This guy's less than a year removed from a torn ACL. Was starting his first ever NFL game, put up 148 total yards. Pretty much was the reason St. Louis was able to pull that win out. It was awesome to see. He broke off some 50-yard runs, some 45-yard runs. He looked fantastic for a rookie playing his first ever NFL start, coming off of an injury against what's been a very good team this year. So I got to give it to him on best. And I'm definitely going to agree on the Kaepernick for the worst, especially when Clay Matthews sacked him and said, "You ain't no Russell Wilson." That's just hilarious to me.
It's good stuff. All right, guys. Also, I got to dip out, so I'm going to bow out right now. I'm sure the podcast will only increase in quality.
All right, man.
Well, we're moving to baseball, so you'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, take it easy, guys.
See you, Trevor. Were there any more NFL topics y'all wanted to cover?
There's not. I just wanted to throw this stat out there. So Tampa Bay plays Jacksonville this week, and so something's got to give. The Bucks have lost 11 straight home games. Meanwhile, Jacksonville's lost 11 straight road games. So So just quality opponents here in Florida. So that'll be interesting.
One thing we did talk about, we were going to mention, if the Lions are able to pull out the win against the Seahawks tonight, there are no winless teams in the NFL through 4 weeks, which is kind of crazy. Siri, I think you're the one that said that's great for the NFL. I totally agree. More teams able to win, it's really cool. I like everyone competing. I don't like those dumpster teams that you just know aren't going to do anything week in, week out.
Here's a thought that I had. Who did Tampa Bay play week 2? Kyle, you might be able to help me with this.
They played the Saints. They beat the Saints.
The Saints. Oh, they beat and then who did they play week 3?
The Texans. They lost to the Texans.
Texans. Okay, and they beat the Texans?
No, they lost. They're 1-3.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking that Jameis Winston has lost 2 of his 3 games against previous Heisman Trophy winners. Week 1, Mariota, and then this most recent week, Cam Newton. I just thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I'm surprised ESPN hasn't made it a full-blown hour-long segment. Heisman, Jameis Winston, sucks, crab's legs galore. That's it. We can move on now.
Okay. So any more NFL discussion? Are we moving into the MLB?
Let's hit MLB hard for the last 10 minutes.
It is some fun time in the MLB, even though the Angels choked miserably. I'm glad Dube's not here. He would hammer me on this. The Astros even lost to the frickin' Diamondbacks to give us the chance, and we got blown out by the frickin' Rangers, who I hate. I'm so pissed off. I don't care that we had no chance in the playoffs if we got there. I'm pissed. I'm not happy. It's a bad year. We'll get into the discussion. I'm sure you all will be a little happier than I am. So that was the first thing on the agenda was fuck the Rangers, so fuck the Rangers. We're going to go back over our original predictions. We'll let these guys talk about how they did and how they think it impacts how they predicted the entire playoffs all the way through to the World Series. Kyle.
Well, to start, all my picks were right, so everybody sucks. The Rangers winning the West. I had the Yankees, the Astros as my wild card game. I had the Pirates and the Cubs in my NL wild card game. All my picks are right. They're going to continue to be right. I'm going to get every single thing right, ALDS, NLDS. So there's really nothing to go over on my end. If you want to look at the answer sheet, just go ahead and look at that file.
All right, Serio.
All right. First thing that I wanted to talk about was I was the only one that chose Arrieta for my NL Cy Young. Greinke and Kershaw were the other 2. I think 2 had Greinke, 1 had Kershaw.
Correct.
And I think, I don't know what your opinions are. I just want to hear a quick 1 or 2 sentences. But I think Arrieta is the favorite. He has been absolutely lights out. Like I said, he has set an MLB record for lowest ERA since the All-Star break. His team has been on fire. They just can't catch the even more on fire Pirates or Cardinals, but that shouldn't take away from him at all. He was the MLB's first 20-game winner. I would be very surprised if he doesn't win it.
So would I, but I will say that if for some reason the Dodgers go on a run in the playoffs, and absolutely just, I'm not sure it'll happen, but if they do, and they lose in the wild card game, which I don't think they'll do because I think, is Arrieta starting? I believe he is.
He has to. He has to start.
I haven't seen starting pitching yet, but I know the AL one, but the NL I haven't seen. But if for some reason they lose that game and then the Dodgers go on a run and Kershaw and Greinke are absolutely, one of them is unreal, then I could see it. But you're right. Those numbers in the second half of the season after the All-Star break are absolutely unreal. They are unreal.
And let's see, anything else that I have? Nothing really. Harper, I like to make discussion about Harper. I don't know, maybe because he's a beast and I'm jealous of him. I think the only other player that has an actual chance when I talk about Cespedes, that's mostly just to Russell Kyle's jimmies. But I think Arenado could be a possible contender. He leads the MLB in home runs in the NL and RBIs. You'll have to double check me on that. I'm pretty sure.
It just actually plays for the Rockies.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Got to be on a good team.
I still have Harper winning it. I just like to have discussion around Harper.
Yeah, he's gonna win it. It's kind of tough to imagine any other outcome at this point. There's other guys that maybe deserve consideration, but he just got the best numbers. He led his team, even though everyone else around him collapsed and they lost out on the playoffs, which I loved.
Another point that I'd want to talk about was the shutdown of Greg Holland for Kansas City. How does that affect everyone's opinions on the Kansas City team moving forward? I had Kansas City in the World Series, losing to the Pirates. I really think that now without Greg Holland, you got to start to reconsider that. Yeah, they have Wade Davis. I can't remember the other guy's name. Elian Herrera? What's his name, Kyle?
Kelvin Herrera.
Kelvin Herrera, that's right. Those guys are just absolutely killers, but you take out Greg Holland and they're a little bit less scary.
It definitely hurts them, but the only thing I say is, okay, well now you got to hope that your starters in your middle relief can get you 7 instead of 6 compared to last year. Because last year if their starters got them 6, they were good to go. I mean,
even 5, yeah, even 5.
It was crazy, yeah, because one of their guys could go 2 innings. I think it was the right move to shut him down because he was.
Well, he had to. Yeah, it was a severe tear, is what they said.
He was ineffective. I still think they're going to be fine. I think they get to the World Series and the Cards beat them. But with that pitching staff, as long as Cueto and Ventura pitch well, they have. I think they're going to be okay. I think it hurts them a little bit, but I mean, Holland wasn't that impressive this year anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think they still make the championship series because I don't see either wild card team being able to beat them. I don't think that's enough to give either the Astros or the Yankees enough to beat them. I think both those teams, they're going to fight hard to win that wild card game, but I think they're done after that. I already had Toronto over them myself in the ALCS, so I don't think it really changes anything with them personally. I think that I got them going the exact same distance I had.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on now. Next thing is to preview the 2 wild card games. And despite our previous picks, if you want to change them, feel free. Talk about what do you think is going to happen in the 2 wild card matchups. And do either of you know starting pitching for the 2 wild card matchups?
Yeah.
I don't.
The AL is Tanaka and Keuchel.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the NL. I don't know if it's been announced. If I had to guess,
it has to be Cole. Say it again. Cole and Arrieta.
Yeah,
it has
probably.
to be. It has to be. I mean, I heard some rumbling about Lester just because he has the experience in the big game, but
I don't throw him with the way Arrieta's been on the mound.
I agree.
You go with the hot hand. It's ridiculous to think otherwise.
Oh yeah,
but,
absolutely.
I'm excited. I think Keuchel and Tanaka tomorrow night's going to be fun. I think the best thing that could have possibly happened to the Yankees happened, and they haven't even started playing yet, which is Sabathia going to rehab, which means they can't throw him even if they wanted to. Even if he was on the bench, I don't think he's been successful. I think he's old. I think he's always been overweight. So I think him being off their playoff roster is going to help them. I do think they have the weakest pitching staff in the playoffs, but they swing the bats, so that'll be a lot of fun to see if Keuchel can shut them down. And then the other thing that I like is the GoFundMe account for Steve Bartman to get to the wild card game that was started. There was some person in Chicago started a GoFundMe account. I don't know the status of it. I haven't looked, but it's hands down one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They're like, let's let bygones be bygones. We got to find him, get him a flight, and then get him to the game.
He already said that he's gonna turn it down. It's hard to blame him because his life is completely turned upside down ever since he was involved in that.
It's so funny that people are trying to do that. And I was watching a 60 or 30 for 30 yesterday, just talking about scapegoats and all that stuff and how he absolutely was used. They compared him to Buckner, except the difference is that Buckner was a major league player and he signed up for that. This guy was just sitting in the stands. I don't know. I'm excited for tomorrow and Wednesday. I love these games, and I talked about it a little bit last week. I think the one-game wild card is so awesome. Gives the team ready to get going. I mean, the last couple of years, the team who's won that game has made a push. So I love the one-game wild card. I think it's cool.
So what are your thoughts on the Astros starting Keuchel in an away game?
I actually am glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. The splits on him, home and away, are absolutely colossal.
He's undefeated at home.
At home, is he in the ones at home?
He's undefeated.
Well, yeah, but his ERA wise.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to find home and away stats for him. All I'm finding is season overall stats.
I remember reading a couple weeks ago. I want to say home he was like 1.5. Like you said, undefeated. Away he was like 3.5. It was just unbelievable how different of a player he is when he's pitching in Minute Maid versus when he's pitching on the road.
The thing is,
so here you go. Minute Maid. He is 1.46 ERA.
Yeah.
He's 15-0 in 18 games. He's got 2 complete games. 21 total runs given up. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. 129 innings pitched, 21 runs.
I don't think you have an option though. You gotta start him.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, he's as much as the splits might tell you otherwise, and it might make you a little schizo as far as starting. You have to.
5-8 record out of Minute Maid.
What is his ERA?
Let's see. Out his overall ERA or his just away?
Away from Minute Maid.
I don't have that exact stat. I have it by stadium. Is the only way I found it.
I'm pretty sure, Kyle, it was like 3.5 or maybe 3.3.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
That's not awful.
He's got a 2.48, and at home he was a 1.4 something. So yeah, it's got to be like a 3.4.
That's really not that bad. I mean, I've always been a proponent of, you can't judge a pitcher based off wins and losses. 5-8's not good, but I mean, a 3.3 ERA away from home is really not that bad.
So he does have 1 start in Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs.
All right. Well, if I'm going off that graphic,
so there you go. That's a big caveat to the away record right there.
Graham also brought up a good point. He's texting me live text, and he says that
he's our one viewer live right now.
He is our one viewer live. Thank you, Graham. Go. Whatever Falcons, whatever team name is. He says Yankee Stadium plays well into the Astro bats, and I do agree with that. Sure. All the left batters that the Yankees have. I'm sorry, not the Yankees, the Astros.
Because I mean, Tanaka is very much a finesse and placement kind of pitcher. I mean, he can blow it by you, but he'll throw anything he's got for strikes, and he works down in the zone. Yeah. It's gonna be a fun game. I think it's gonna be really fun to watch.
Oh, I love October baseball. It's just you can't beat it. It's a thing inside itself. For any viewers that are still listening that don't like baseball, which I doubt we have many, because if you're still listening, you probably like baseball. But you got to get into October baseball, even when your team's not in it. It doesn't matter. It's exciting stuff. It's
like hockey.
Some of the only time baseball's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
True.
So that's all we had on the agenda. Were there any other questions y'all got we wanted to go over from viewers, or anything else y'all wanted to talk about? We're only 2 minutes over our hour mark, which is the best we've done so far.
I think we touched on all our questions, meaning Graham's asked all the questions he possibly could. So.
He's probably asked a few we didn't get to. I know we didn't get to one college question I got asked, but I've been trying to keep it an hour, so we're going to keep it an hour.
Oh, Jesus.
I have, guys, I just want to say this. I have Graham joining. He has a new feature that he wants to bring in. It's called the Beard Power Rankings, where he has been watching this entire week, and he's going to power rank the 4 contestants. Trevor.
I'm okay with this.
Trevor's going to be in it as well. Graham needs to figure out how to turn his camera on.
I think my favorite part about this is he's joining, and he still actually has it up because we still have the one live viewer, meaning he's doing it as well as watching it.
Okay, here he is.
All right, Graham, what you got?
Hey, all right. So for this week's Beard Power Rankings, we're going to go in reverse order this week. Sitting at number 4, we got Eric Palmer Jones. We'll pass you around the chin, but there's definitely some room for improvement. Sitting at number 3, we've got Trevor. That's a little bushy. It looks a little unmanaged. We're going to go ahead and chalk that up to some studying and scholars having to come first. At number 2, we've got Kyle. It looks like he's going to a little bit of a Fu Manchu.
Damn it.
Got the beard that's coming in as well. And Serial, I mean, you just got to take a look at that. If we can have Serial talk here in a second, that just looks drawn on. Just look at that. That is postseason beard form. You're just that's going to be hard to take out of the number 1 spot. But we'll check back in next week and see what that looks like.
I do say that's fantastic because in the pre-production meeting, Stereo talked about how his beard looks way better on the podcast than it actually looks in real life. He was really happy about that. So,
quote unquote. I said, "Wow, this podcast makes my beard look really good."
So I like that he got the call out from that. It's going to make him really happy. It made his night.
Without a doubt.
That made his night almost
I'll
as much
drink
as
to
Aaron
that.
Rodgers came to his house.
Yes.
All right, well, Graham, thank you for the nice little comedy to end it. We appreciate it. We're going to log out for the week. We'll be back next week. We'll be able to talk about some actual October baseball that's been played. We will talk about how fun our weekend was in Tallahassee, Kyle. I don't know if Siri's going to be there as well.
Sirio has to go to a wedding, which is too bad.
My cousin's getting married.
People that have weddings in college football season are the worst human beings alive.
I'm not going to comment on that on the off chance that she might watch this.
No, I mean, one of my best buddies, Thomas DeAugustinus, his wedding is this fall, but he did it on a Sunday. So I was a little more okay with that being on a Sunday than on college football Saturday, even though it's the Syracuse game and it's not really going to matter for Florida State. But in general, fall weekend weddings are terrible. People want to watch football. That's what God intended, and that's what we should be doing. God intended that way over people getting married and expressing their love and all that crap. So
We just got religious to finish off our week 5. I love it.
totally okay with it. Totally okay with it because I'm very serious about my no weddings in fall. I refuse. If I was engaged to a girl and she said we were going to have our wedding in the fall, I would say, if that's what you're demanding, we're ending it right here and right now. I want the ring back. So that's how weddings in the fall work in my mind. They're terrible, terrible things. Don't do them. On that note, everybody have a good week. Go Noles this weekend. I hate Miami. Fuck Miami. Fuck Miami, which is one of my favorite hashtags ever. It will be everywhere this week.
Hashtag keep Al Golden.
Yes, there will be the banner flying over those stadiums that says hashtag keep Al Golden. I'm excited for that.
All right, guys. See you all later.
Everyone have a good one.
I'll drink to that.